Good afternoon or good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on 80/20 podcast. Today, our guest is Howard Partridge. And if you haven't met Howard, he is the founder of Phenomenal Products. Howard's got a great background. 3 decades ago or so, he started carpet cleaning. And we'll probably get to the story, Howard, about you started out of the trunk of your car. And through trial and error, struggle, and few good mentors, you built a really excellent company that is now a multi-million-dollar company. It's very profitable. And most importantly to me or my crowd is that it's a self-managing company. You don't have to be involved with the day-to-day operations. And at some point along the way, you got into public speaking. You worked with the Zig Ziglar Institute and became a certified speaker. You're a coach, you're a trainer, you're a published author. You've published many books and programs. And your latest is very recently out. It's FTI, Failure to Implement. And we'll probably finish our interview today digging into FTI just a little bit. So with that, Howard, thank you very much for joining us. I'm excited to see you. How are you, sir?
My pleasure. I am phenomenal, of course.
Of course, of course. So let's do this to start off with. Just rewind the clock a little bit, like 30 years, and let's get you working out of the trunk of your car. And you're like, why did you start a carpet cleaning business? How did you possibly imagine that you could do it out of the trunk of your car? And how did you start to grow and learn and like turn in from a job or a struggle to a business that supports you and your dreams?
You bet. So the first time I got the idea, or when I got the idea, was I was getting married to my wife in New Jersey, and I'm originally from Alabama, as most people know, and my wife and I met in Houston, and went to New Jersey, get married. She's Italian. And there was a friend of the family who, same age as me, 23 at the time, and he was tooling around a little red Mercedes convertible, and that got my attention. I said, I want to know what that guy does. I want to know if it's legal,
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a waiter at the time, and I always wanted my own business. I wanted to work for myself, make money and all that. And so when I saw him, I thought, wow, what does he do? And it turns out that he was in the cleaning business. And when you marry into an Italian family, you don't get wedding presents, you get cash. And we got $3,000 cash in envelopes
Yeah.
as wedding gifts. And so as soon as I got back to Houston after our honeymoon, I started investigating going into the cleaning business. And my dad and my stepmother, they were in the interior design business, and they recommended this system, which happened to be portable. And so the reason I was able to work out of the trunk of my car is because this equipment fit in the trunk, and
Right.
so I would wait tables at night, go clean carpet in the daytime. And I was in business for a lot of years before we started doing truck mount cleaning and all that. But in 1997, I had 3 trucks. I was doing about $30,000 a month at that time, and I was making $100,000 a year. It's profitable,
Mhm.
but I was working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Yeah.
and it just and I had started hearing about systems. I read Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth, and that's when I got the picture. And so I saw you reaching, maybe you're reaching for the book, but I got the vision that, wait a minute, I can have a company that runs itself. I don't have to be there. This sounds too good to be true.
Yeah.
So once I read the book, I got it. I saw it, and I came down here to Destin, where I am right now, my favorite place in the whole world, Destin, Florida. I sat on the beach with some spiral notebooks and just rewrote my vision, rewrote my life, and wrote out a plan, basically. And I went back to Houston and brought on a couple of partners, and we started building systems and basically created a system for every single thing that happens in the company, and built it up to a couple $1 million a year. After about 8 years of working together, we parted ways. I bought them out, actually, and got it turnkey, and This year we should do about $4 million this year. It's very, very, very profitable. We have no debt other than equipment. We don't use a line of credit or credit cards or anything like that. And that's one of the things that one of my mentors helped me with. And it's a beautiful thing. I get to live in paradise down here in Florida. I still have a beautiful home in Houston too.
Yeah.
And they run that company for me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fantastic. When you said you and your partner started building systems, so let me back up a step.
Yeah.
In our pre-interview thing, I asked a few questions when we set up our interview today, and one of them was like, "What do you do, or what do you teach people how to get a bigger result with a smaller effort?" It's just the 80-20 rule, and you said systems.
Yeah.
So when you started developing your systems, did you develop them all from scratch, or did you buy some off the shelf? How does a person that's smaller, that's growing and they're the bottleneck, how do they start to develop systems? What's the mindset? What's the approach? Can you do that?
Yeah, we did both. If you can buy it off the shelf and use it, that's the faster, better way. And the interesting thing is that what I've learned over the years, I can't quite figure it out, but I think I got this. It seems that people feel like if they didn't write it, if they didn't create it, then somehow they're cheating. And I was talking about this at one of our meetings. As you know, we have members in 100 different industries in 20 different countries. And, I have a membership called the Inner Circle and the Howard Partridge Inner Circle. And I had, my leadership group together and an audience. And I was talking about this. And one of my top clients, her name is Elise, and she has an architecture firm in Houston. And she got it turnkey with our systems. And she goes, "We were told in school not to copy anybody else's work.
Yeah.
We're programmed that way." And I thought, that's it. And I think it's an ego thing too, and that if I didn't create it, then somehow it's not mine or whatever. But I say copy, copy, copy. Legitimately, of course, in other words, if you need to pay for it. And I'm the first one to buy someone's program, because if I can learn a better way to do something, then, I'm going to do that. And so I learned from a lot of people, not just to learn their content, but to learn how they do things. What's their process? What's their system? So I live by a philosophy that I learned from Gary Keller, who wrote The One Thing. He built Keller Williams from nothing into the largest residential real estate company in the country, probably in the world. And he said, don't do the best that you can do. Whatever it is that you do it the best that it can be done.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, what a distinction.
Yeah. So if I'm a woodworker and this is the best I can do, then okay, I'm limited. But if then I can go learn from someone who is a phenomenal woodworker, as an example, and learn different techniques and different strategies, then that's how you find out who has the best wheel, and copy that wheel, if you will, or follow that strategy, follow that system. So do it the best that it can be done. And then the other thing is that I realized that the greatest life lesson that I've learned that crosses through business, personal, every area of your life and every area of your business, is find that person that has done it, is doing it the best that it can be done, and that has a system for you to follow. So, for example, the way that we got our company in debt was by me putting blinders on and not wanting to even think about an income statement or profits or pricing, or certainly not budgeting. Come on, And so, I ignored that, and I said, we're great at marketing, we're great at sales, we're growing, we just bring in more money. What doesn't work that way? And eventually I got myself and our company in so much debt that it came to a place where I was like, okay, this is not a very phenomenal life. My life is about how do we make payroll on Friday? How
Wow.
do we,
Yeah.
make this line of credit? I remember talking to American Express. I had $40,000 on my American Express Platinum card that was due the next day. And I called American Express and I said, hey, I'm not going to be able to pay this bill. And they're like, oh, yes, you are. And I said, well, it ain't going to happen by tomorrow unless a miracle happens. And I'm praying for a miracle. I hope you are too. But, if that doesn't happen. And the amazing thing is the next day, a miracle did happen. I called him up and I said, like I told you yesterday, I can't pay this bill today. And a miracle happened right there on the phone. They said, okay, well, we're going to finance this for you at 23% interest.
Ooh. Ooh.
But you can't use the card until you pay that off.
Yeah. That's a forced position of budgeting and finance, right?
And I thought, man,
Wow.
this is no way to live. So I called in Ellen Rohr,
Okay.
who spoke at the convention that you guys did. And I started following her system.
Okay.
Process. So learn from the person who's already where you want to be, who's already doing what you want to do, and follow their system. So what I've done is I've just created the best systems that exist for small businesses. That's
Okay.
all.
Well, you alluded to it early on. Like a lot of times, there can be a lot of ego, even if you're not doing it that well, where you
Right.
feel like, well, it's not legit unless I make it up myself or I create it. Or
Right. And you don't want anybody else to know that you're not doing so hot. You know what I mean?
oh yeah,
And especially guys have a lot of ego. My favorite clients, I mean, I probably shouldn't say this, but let me say that maybe not my favorite clients, because I got some clients who are guys too that are just humble. They're awesome. They,
Mhm.
but women typically are a little faster to admit that they don't have it together. Guys like, oh yeah, man, everything's great. And then you start looking at it, say, well, you're losing money. Okay. You're about to get a divorce. Everything ain't great.
Yeah. How great is it really? Yeah.
Yeah, let's face reality and help you, move out of this situation.
Well, a lot of times, I mean, that we call that, you've got to empty your cup and go like, just empty your cup and learn from somebody and refill it and not feel like I have all the answers. Because clearly we don't. We're trying to grow and learn. So, don't get so tied up in the ego to say it's got to be my way.
Yeah, well, I think that a lot of people are business owners because they can't really work for anybody else, and they do have egos, and they're creative and they want it to be theirs, and they want it their own personal brand and everything. But I'm like, man, look, try what's proven first.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work for you, then create a new way.
Yeah. So this is a common story. A lot of people start on their own. They're a one man show. Maybe they got a partner, but they start small and then they grow to a level, and that is the plateau because they're trying to do everything themselves. They're trying to be, wear 20 hats. So you realize at some point you've got to start letting stuff go. You have to delegate it. You have to hire somebody that's got that skill set, and that that frees you up to grow to a higher level. But like I'm a big fan of find out what your unique ability is, as Dan Sullivan calls it. Or like, what's your superpower? Focus on that, and then outsource the rest, or hire people to support that. What I want to ask you personally is like, once you got rid of a lot of the day to day, I'm like, what was something that was you knew you had to let go of? I mean, you like in order to grow the company or grow yourself, but you just didn't want to, but you knew you had to.
Well, I think starting from the very bottom level is first, I think a lot of guys that are probably listening to your podcast are probably the technician,
Yeah.
what Michael Gerber calls the technician, and giving up that technical work or that customer service, or what if they don't take care of my customer. And so many business owners are afraid to hire employees to start with. You can't trust anybody. You can't find good people and all that. And none of that's true. If if there was anything I could get across to your audience, is stop listening to the them. Can't find good people. They'll steal you blind, and that could happen, and that did happen to me. Okay. But what you got to do, as my good friend Mike John Maxwell says, is you got to raise your leadership lid. In the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, he talks about the McDonald's brothers, and they tried to expand McDonald's. And when Ray Kroc went to them, said, "Oh man, I can see this, expanding all over the country." They said, "Oh no, you can't do that. We tried that, and it was a disaster." Well, Ray Kroc finally had convinced them to let him franchise it. And he had similar problems, but what he did is he worked through the problem to figure out how to get the right solution, the right systems. And McDonald's was the poster child for systems. But you gotta have, if you're gonna grow beyond yourself, you need systems that other people can follow. You need procedures. You need, this is how we do things. This is why we do things like this. And this is the best way that it can be done. This is why we do it this way. And this is why it's important. Well, then you got to have people who are willing to do that. And if you, all of business, all of life is about relationships. And the reason that you don't attract good people and don't find good people is because you're not putting yourself in the right situation, and you're not meeting the right kinds of people. So we need to look in the mirror and say, what is it about me that I'm not out there meeting people and attracting people? When you're out there in the community as a business owner, for example, I'll give you one small thing. I would never, ever, ever, when I was running my service company, I would never go out of my house anywhere without having shaven and, showered and, be dressed appropriately. I mean, my favorite outfit is a bathing suit, and that's it. And, but I wouldn't go out that way. Right now, I have my company shirt on. I took a shower for you, but I got a bathing suit on. And when this is over, this shirt's coming off and I'm going to the beach, but I would never show up at my office that way. But how many guys are out there on a Sunday, late Sunday morning, and they're bedraggled and unshaven and walking out of the convenience store with a 6-pack of beer? No. You got to understand that you're always positioning yourself. You're always projecting your image out there. You're always meeting people. They don't notice anybody. People walk right. No, you got to notice people. Pay attention to them. It doesn't matter if it's the cashier at the store, somebody pumping gas next to you. I'm always noticing people. We got a guy who's speaking at our conference, a good friend of mine. His name is Alan O'Neill. He started a plumbing company in Houston, built it to $9 million a year, and sold it to a big company. And one of the other companies that they acquired, they wanted him to be the CEO. Well, he became the CEO. He got a stock option. They sold the whole ball of wax that was doing $100-something million a year, and kept his stock option. And they've sold 3 times.
Wow.
And he made several plumbers millionaires overnight. And he leads 850 people. There's 850 people under his leadership. He's speaking at my conference.
Yeah.
He started out as a plumber like everybody else. And one of the things he told us at a meeting one time is he said, how many people did you talk to this past week about coming to work for your company? You got to always be out there recruiting. He said, another plumber better not stop at the gas station while my guys are there, because they're going to recruit him. I thought, way to go. And so people are putting these lame ads on, Indeed and this, that, and the other thing. And they're not meeting anybody, and they're just out there like this. You're out there in the community every single day. There are people around you. Oh, well, people won't come to work because the government's paying them too much. How
Not
do I
true.
have, how do I have 40 team members that are engaged, that love coming to work every day, and they love to come to work and win, and they care? How's that possible? How does he have 850 of them?
Yeah. There's got to be a bigger answer to that, right?
Yeah. So my biggest lesson for today is don't believe the lies that they say.
We could say amen right there.
Amen.
And call it a wrap, because it's true. I mean, just those nasty negative thoughts or belief systems that do not serve you, but yet still people buy into it. And so most of 80/20, most of success in business is changing the way you think about it, and then you actually change the way you do it. So there are several rabbit holes I'd love to go down. I actually have two questions that I had written down for you. One's about hiring, one's about leadership.
Yeah.
And you touched on both of those during that story, but I just wanted, as an anecdote, mention that, like, I used to go out of the house scruffy and so, like, it's my day off, whatever. But like, always, like, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Right.
I went to the coffee shop this morning to meet with a friend who might take on some of our senior admin roles. And she's one of our customers, and she approached us.
Mhm.
And on the way out, I just said hello to somebody that they looked familiar, but I didn't know who they were. Well, turned out we had a 20-minute conversation. She's probably going to be our future U.S. representative for the state of Montana, because this year with the census, so we added a second House of Representatives, and she's the front runner. And she spent 20 minutes asking me questions about small business, and like, how are you hiring? What are you doing? But if I'd been the scruffy dude in flip flops and cut off shorts,
Right.
that conversation would not have happened.
And if she did recognize you, should be like, well, not asking him any questions.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And people are like, well, like you said, it's my day off and I dress how I want to. Listen, you can do that.
Sure.
It's a free country. It's a free world. And I went into business so I could do what I want when I want.